Hey, Prairie Stuff House and Apothecary friends. It is Monday and I am not in the combine for the first time in several weeks. So I'm getting back to our Monday series called Monday Musings that I want to be doing on a consistent basis to kind of take a deeper dive into some of the things that I've been learning that I want to share with you, and maybe bringing out some more of the personal development and spiritual aspects of some of the things that I'm involved with in my practice. So today I want to talk to you about cycles, about self-worth, and about seasonal living. So a lot of you know, hi Marion, that Corey Messer and I are hard at work preparing the fall session for our Intuitive and Seasonal Living Academy. Class is open for that. If you're interested in taking a look, go to intuitivefall.com and you can learn more about the fall session. It's going to have so many cool things in it. I'm really excited about fall. All the spicy, wonderful, warm, cooked, amazing foods that we get to have, being cozy at home in the evenings with our family if we're lucky, and just all of the things about fall that can really give us some extra leverage in our health and wellness. So I've been taking a very deep dive in the last several weeks into some of the Ayurvedic, or the traditional Indian sort of wisdom on what it means to live within harmony, to be harmonized within ourselves, in alignment with ourselves and our desires, to be in alignment with the cycles of nature. And what I see so often with people, and what I've been working through with myself, is that we have a tendency to want to fight those natural cycles. We think we're supposed to be the same day after day after day after day, and we're just not. Men and women both go through different cycles in their bodies. We have different seasons throughout the year that have different characteristics. We have different cycles of the moon that change the amount of light that our bodies are exposed to, and so on and so forth. So I've been reading this book called Ayurveda for Women. I can see it there. A Guide to Vitality and Health by Dr. Robert E. Svoboda. He's written quite a number of books on Ayurvedic medicine, kind of bringing a lot of that wisdom to the West. And this particular book is for women, and it's about the three big cycles or seasons of a woman's life. So you have your childhood, you have your middle of your life, your working part of your life, your raising your family part of your life, and then you have that sort of wise woman end of life season that we all get to look forward to when we can pass on all that we have learned. So I just wanted to share a few quotes from this book and kind of tie that into some of the things that I've been learning and some of the things that I've been observing recently that I've been just like, wow, that's really profound and also really tough to work through. So he talks about how when we are not in harmony with the cycles of nature, we're actually missing out on a lot of things that could actually leverage us into a better state of being, whether that is in our spirit, whether it's in our mind, whether it's in our body, or really all three. Only in the West do we think of those things as totally separate. And he talks about that when we are unaware of how nature's changes are impacting our body, this is actually when a lot of pathologies, illnesses, conditions will present themselves in the body. And that when we are more understanding of the different cycles that we are in all the time and learning to see what might go out of balance in each of those seasons, then we can find more harmony in our lives by sort of balancing those things out with the opposite. So I'll explain that in a minute, but he talks about the seasons being a huge determiner of the degree by which you are affected by different things. So if you're completely out of touch with the seasons, you're going to feel really helpless to not understand why maybe going into fall, hi Carissa, you're feeling a little ungrounded. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more anxious. Maybe you're feeling a little bit more melancholy. Maybe you are overwhelmed by all of the things that are feeling required of us in the fall. Maybe you're bringing in your harvest. I know Marion's probably been doing a ton of canning like I have to bring in that harvest. So there's just a lot going on in fall. If you're not aware of some of the changes in nature that could be potentially impacting you, then you're going to feel much more helpless in addressing those things and finding balance with them. So one of the things that I really feel strongly about, especially with women, but I really kind of feel this across the board with men as well as with kids even, is when we can live more in sync with nature, we actually have way more tools at our disposal to help ourselves live in a better state of harmony. So he talks about the cycles of day and night, right? Obviously, our bodies are affected by the changing of the day and the night, the seasons of the year, and different particular aspects of our constitution being more challenging at different times of year than the other, the cycle of digestion that we go through every single time we eat food, our lifespan cycle, those 3 phases of life, and then for women, our menstrual cycle that we have. And all of these things have the potential to be tools for us to help us to prevent disease, or if we are living completely out of touch with them, those same things can actually be our Achilles heel, because we don't understand how those things are bringing us out of balance, and we also don't understand how being in harmony with those things can bring us so much more meaning. So in Ayurvedic medicine, as well as traditional Chinese medicine and many other traditional medical systems, there is ritual purification that happens usually at the transition points between seasons. So coming up on September 22nd, we are going to be reaching the fall equinox. And what would be traditional in most cultures previous to our modern incantation of society would be that we would be doing some kind of purification. So in the spring, I talked about like doing a bigger fast or a cleanse. In the fall, cleansing is also important, but there's some different ways that we can do that. And that's one of the things that I'm going to be talking about during the fall session of the Intuitive and Seasonal Living Academy. But he talks about how when we're doing these purifications or these cleanses at those junction points, it's also an opportunity for us to set our intentions about how we want to move forward. And each season of the year has a purification regimen appropriate to it. So every season has its own characteristics. This is obvious, right? Especially if you live in the continental climate, that we have pretty drastic shifts in the seasons, and this can also happen in our bodies and in our minds as we're approaching our life. And there was something here that he said that really hit me, because I feel that women have been given the message that they are inherently wrong. And this is coming from so many different angles. Sometimes it's coming just from us. Sometimes it's coming from perhaps a religious upbringing or the family of origin, or maybe just things that you have received as messages in society that you've taken on as your own story. But a lot of us feel like there's something inherently wrong with us. And because we feel like there's something inherently wrong with us, we also really struggle with this sense of worthiness, especially when it comes to our own care of ourselves. So we will do 10,000 things for everyone else, but we will not give ourselves that same dignity of care. For some reason, it's just extremely difficult for us to give that to ourselves. And here's the problem with that. And I was kind of telling my mom this a little bit today. We were at a funeral and she was serving and she's bustling about and helping everybody. And then she realized that like I don't know if she had forgotten to eat or she had forgotten to do something like really basic. And I was like, Mom, you got to put on your own oxygen mask first before you put it on the people around you, right? That's what they tell you every time you get on a plane. And as women, like, we're just nurturing. We want to take care of everybody else. A lot of us are people pleasers, and it's hard to let go of that. And we don't realize that that's not just a platitude, that we take care of ourselves first before we take care of other people. And here's the truth. All of these traditional medical systems understand this as a fundamental fact. It is not a platitude. It's not something you find in a Hallmark card. It's not something that you tell your girlfriend to help her feel better. It's actually truth that you have to take care of yourself before you will actually have what he talks about as a wellspring of energy to help other people and serve other people with. A lot of us want to ignore this fact, I think, because taking care of ourselves also is going to partially mean really taking a look at ourselves and what we need to work through, our own junk that we're kind of bringing to the table that's preventing us from moving forward with the things that we really want in our life. Hey, Angela. So Angela just had a birthday. Everybody say hi to Angela. She was raising money for the manatees, which I think is just so fabulous. Okay, so here's what happens, you guys. We have really disconnected ourselves from nature, from the cycles of nature. We have technology that disrupts all of our connection to the day and night cycles, to the shifting of the the amount of light from the moon, and that has had an impact on our circadian rhythms, and that has had an impact on our endocrine systems, and like we can go on and on. We also have a physical disconnect from the cycles of nature. So we have climate controlled buildings, we're surrounded by EMFs all the time, we are not grounded to the actual ground of the earth anymore like we used to. We're not even getting in touch with dirt anymore, which actually has benefit to us as, you know, a protective aspect of our immunity by exposing us to a lot of different beneficial bacteria and organisms and things like that. I could go on and on. You get the point, right? But I think one of the biggest places that we have been sold a bill of goods is when it comes to our female cycle and our connection to nature with that. So we've been told that it's dirty, if you're lucky. And if you're like a lot of us, you haven't really been told anything about it at all. You haven't been told the first thing about how your body works, what it means to ovulate, what you might be seeing in your body when you ovulate, how you might feel. You have been told that you're going to have PMS and you're probably going to have to take drugs for that, and that your body is dirty and disgusting, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't have to talk about this long because you all probably are having an emotional response to what I'm saying because you've experienced some form of this from marketing or even just your own misgivings about your body and accepting your body, which, can I get a witness, is just a challenge of being a human on this planet, and all of the things that we have to tackle and all of the things that we have to face and all of the things, right? So a few years ago, when I started to really work through my self-worth and also getting back in touch with the cycles of nature, when we moved back to our hometown, to a farm, we started doing permaculture, I started to notice that I felt so much better when I was outside more, when I was in contact with the ground more, when I was more aware of the changing of the seasons. And that caused me to want to do more research on that and understand why that was. And so the last 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 years have been a big journey for me of understanding what it means to live seasonally. And not because it's a have to, but because it's something that actually really does help me to feel better. And the biggest journey within that has been learning to accept my feminine aspects in terms of my female cycle. And instead of demonizing that and calling it a curse and like having a really bad relationship with my period, let's just put it that way, I have come to really see the changing of my body throughout the month as a gift to me, because I don't have to be the same every single day. And that means that there's certain times of the month that I'm going to leverage for my most extroverted stuff that I'm doing. And then there's certain times of the month where I just know that I am going to need some more alone time. And that is a perfect time for me to sit down and really dream and set intentions and things like that. So he talks about in this book, that a wise woman will work with nature to take advantage of this natural monthly cleansing. He's talking about your cycle, so that both she and nature can achieve their goals. Nature does not want you to become pregnant each month. She doesn't insist that you become pregnant at all. She does request, though, that your body and mind remain in regular contact with their roots, in that creativity which the female alone possesses. Nature is happy for you to use your formative ability in any way that you feel fit for yourself and for others, which I love that, to generate or to repair, to create or procreate. She becomes so pleased when you use that power to assist others, whether those others belong to you or not, that she will contribute her own power to you to add to your own creativity. Living in harmony means leverage. When you cut yourself off from your wellspring, when you cut yourself off from the basic aspects of seasonal and cyclical living, even down to this level of our female cycle, you're blocking nature's efforts to help heal you and help you. And this blockage will often display itself as some impediment to your menstrual flow. And I've also seen it just as a creative block in general, where we feel like we can't really get in touch with our intuition. We are not even sure if that's a thing. If we think that we have intuition, we definitely don't trust it. We don't know how to use it. And we just don't trust our bodies anymore. And I think that this is a hugely damaging thing for women, is that we have been taught and we have had the experience of not being able to trust our bodies. And that was definitely me. I mean, I went through, close to a decade of very extreme struggle with my body, not being able to understand what was going on with it. A lot of you know my story with that. And a lot of you have been through similar stories to that. And when I started honoring my body and its cycles, and when I started honoring nature and its cycles and living within harmony with that, I really felt like my healing journey began in that moment. And I also started to hear my own inner voice in a way that I hadn't in a very long time. I remember hearing it when I was a kid, before I learned not to trust myself, right? So what I want to empower you with tonight is just how could you start down the road of knowing that you are worth putting on your own oxygen mask before you feel like you have to put on everyone else's. And I want to invite you to look at, instead of feeling like that process needs to look like you have to add this whole to-do list of things to do for your so-called self-care, and you're supposed to do all of these things. Hey, Rhonda, to make yourself healthy, and you better do this diet, and you better do this cleanse, and all that. All those things can be really helpful tools. But if we're not ultimately in touch with the cycles of nature, we're missing out on that wellspring. And that is a word that keeps coming up over and over and over. We're missing out on where our true creativity, productivity, and flow for life actually come from. And when we get back in touch with nature and we figure out how to start living in that rhythm of those cycles of nature, we find suddenly that it's like a lot of this stuff is really obvious, because it's what our bodies have been asking for the whole time, and we just haven't been hearing it because we've had all this other junk going on, and we've gotten so disconnected, and we have all of this messaging, and it's a bunch of crap. And so I want to invite you to come back to yourself by coming back to nature, by learning to live with nature a little bit more. And I think you're going to find that when you do that, you start to hear your inner voice a lot more clearly. If that feels like a very overwhelming thing to even begin to think about, I understand, and I get that. That is why Corey and I created the Intuitive and Seasonal Living Academy, is to give you a safe place to begin to process this in the way that you need to get in touch with your body, with your soul, with your mind, and to have the tools of some of these ancient wisdom traditions that never lost touch of the fact that we're not the same every day, and that we're not all the same. And giving honor to the differences in our constitutions, giving honor to the differences in the seasons, and so on and so forth, so that you really can start to hear your inner voice, to figure out what it really is for you that gives your life purpose and meaning, and also helps you to live the most vibrant, healthy life that you can. And that's really what I'm here to do, is to help you live that vibrant, holistic lifestyle of ease. So if this is something that's of interest to you, this is something I never really considered, says Angela. I know! And once you start getting into your brain is just going to explode, because you're going to realize so much of it is so obvious, but we have been so distracted from it. It's crazy. I mean, we can even, okay, what is everybody wanting to go to Starbucks for right now? Pumpkin spice, right? Have you thought about why we want pumpkin spice in the fall? Well, it turns out there's actually some seasonal and constitutional reasons why our bodies start to crave those kind of cooking spices in the fall. It's to stoke the digestive fire, it's to keep us warm, it's to keep our circulation going, and it's actually to help our immune system, because the digestive system is actually part of your immune system. So all of that stuff actually helps to stoke that digestive fire and keep you going as the weather gets colder, as the days get shorter, to maintain your health. Well, if you didn't know that, and you're just having a bunch of pumpkin spice filled with sugar, you're not necessarily leveraging that, you're letting that control you. But if you know that the reason that you're having that craving is because you actually need some of those spices, then you can intentionally incorporate them in some of the rest of your cooking. And that's exactly the kind of things that I talk about in my modules of the fall session of the Intuitive and Seasonal Living Academy. So I'll be talking about things from the Ayurvedic perspective like I did tonight. We'll be talking about traditional Chinese medicine, which is just so amazing, and the insights that it has. I mean, I could like talk about that for another hour. And then I also bring in, as a holistic aromatherapist, the aromatherapy side of what we need to do for each season. And there is so much aromatherapy for fall. It's going to be really fun. So I hope you join us. Go to intuitivefall.com and you can enroll in class right there. If you're not sure if it's for you, or if you want to understand more about what the class structure looks like and what each of us are going to be bringing to the table, go to intuitiveseason.com and you can actually sign up for a free video series that'll be delivered to your email inbox that you can watch at your convenience, basically, to kind of learn how the class is structured. So Marian says, thank you for all the researching and sharing with us how to live a natural life. Yes, you are welcome, Marian. And Marian's actually already quite good at that as a farm wife and a business owner, preserving food and all of those wonderful things that she does. She's pretty in touch with nature already. And I think you'll find that even if you feel really disconnected from this idea, you're more connected than you realize. You just haven't been aware of it. So if you make yourself aware of it, then you can begin to leverage it. And when you leverage it for yourself and you start to get yourself more whole and healed, then you can help those around you even better. And that's really what we all want to do, right? We all want to lift each other up and encourage each other. And that's what I'm here to do, you guys. So go to intuitivefall.com to enroll in the fall session of class. We will be closing doors soon, and so you don't want to miss out on that fall opportunity. Or if you're not sure, go to intuitiveseason.com and get yourself enrolled in that free video series. And I will see you on Wednesday for our essential oil profile. So if there's something specific that you guys want me to talk about, an essential oil that you've been curious about or that you want to know more about, let me know. Otherwise, I'll just pick something that I want to do, which is always fun too. I'll see you Wednesday.